Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast. We are continuing to go through my DVD collection here. And if you thought there was too much action in the last few videos, you should be happy with this one. We got some non-action flicks to go through actually, just by chance, because this is alphabetically. So let's do the first one here. It's a double feature, and it's an action movie, but bear with me. It is Lethal Panther 1 and 2. Two lethal movies on one DVD. Yes. So in Lethal Panther, a CIA agent is thrust into a quagmire of family rivalry, assassination, betrayal, and revenge as she fights to stop a criminal boss in the most criminal or powerful crime family in the Philippines. So Lethal Panther 1 wasn't all that good. It was, there's some decent fights in it. Oh, the score of Halloween is ripped off in this movie. Oh yes, they rip off Halloween. Why would you use the theme song or the theme tune to Halloween in an action movie? Totally out of place. I have no idea what they were thinking, but it is amusing. Sybil Hu is the lead actress here. She gets body doubled quite a bit in this one, so that's a problem. And, just kind of forgettable. Lethal Panther 1, not really all that good. However, Lethal Panther 2 is an entirely different story. In this one, we have a cop named Albert who tries to take down some bad guys. And Lethal Panther 2 is stupid with a capital S, and it's all the better for it. Totally way more entertaining than the first Lethal Panther movie. The soundtrack in this one is a direct ripoff of The Terminator. Yes, so they decided to rip off the Terminator music in this one, which only enhances the comedic effect when Albert struts to the beats. There's some pretty good chases and shootouts. There's a number of them. Some of them are kind of low grade, but they're kind of funny to watch. There's some completely unrealistic wire maneuvers used in this that just come from out of nowhere. That just adds to the entertainment value. And of course, Yukari Oshima is in Lethal Panther 2. She was not in the first one, so that's a huge upgrade as a lead actress. So yeah, Lethal Panther 2, I liked it. I liked Lethal Panther 2. The first one, it's just okay. Albert, that guy was hilarious. Unintentionally so. Alright. So this is one that I haven't seen in a while. It is Lost in Time. This is an excellent romance film. You got Cecilia Chung and Ho-cheung Wan. Louis Koo kind of shows up as a cameo or small role here. So this one, it's about a woman who's trying to raise her son. She's having difficulty financially, mostly. And, her husband dies previously in an accident or something. And Ho-cheung Wan comes along, and he takes an interest in her. And they try to kind of work things out. You know what I mean? And this is really good. This is really good. There are, I think there's 1 or 2 scenes in this where I just cried profusely. And not necessarily out of sadness. It's this is a very, very good romance drama that I definitely recommend. Lost in Time, very good. Now this one here, Life Show, very underknown movie. Probably Lost in Time, people don't talk about much either. Life Show, I don't think anybody really knows about, but it did get a Region 1 release on DVD. Now this actress, Tao Hong, is just outstanding. And I cannot tell you just how irritated I am that she's only been in half a dozen movies in her entire career, and I've only been able to find 2 of them. She was the supporting actress in Beyond Our Ken with Jillian Chung and Daniel Wu, which I love that movie. And that's when I first noticed her and became a fan, so I tried to find everything else she's been in. And Life Show was the only other movie of hers that actually got a Region 1 release. And this actress is just unbelievable. She's outstanding. There's no reason why she shouldn't have been like a just a major, just superstar. This one's about, she runs a small restaurant in Shanghai. She's the family matriarch after her mother died and her father got remarried. So she cares for her family, tries to provide for them, and then regain possession of the family home. And if you want to see just solid acting and a really good kind of story and conflict, check out Life Show. It's one that not a whole lot of people know about. Man, I'm still mad that Tao Hung, she just disappeared. Like, her last movie that she made that I've been able to find was 2009. And I actually haven't been able to find it to watch it. But I think she's done. Her career's done. Ridiculous. Don't know how that happens. And we move from one excellent actress right to the next. Tang Wei in Lust Caution. So this one's pretty well known, right? Ang Lee directed it. I think this is his best film by a significant margin, actually. I do like a lot of his movies, but this one's just so freaking fantastic. And, it's basically set to the backdrop of a transforming country. A young woman finds herself swept up in a radical plot to assassinate a ruthless and secretive intelligence agent. And it gets pretty steamy. You got Tony Leung Chiu-wai as the main actor. He's really good in this too. He's very kind of a menacing individual. And there's some steamy scenes in this. You got to get the unrated version. You got to watch the movie the way it was supposed to be seen. Yeah, there's definitely some steamy sex scenes in this, but it's so well written and so well acted. I would say if I was forced to choose like the best duo performance by a lead actor and actress of the last like 10 years, this would be it. Like, that's how good it is. And not a whole lot of special features in this one, unbelievably. Probably should get more, but yeah, Lust Caution's definitely a must-watch. A little on the long side, but it doesn't feel like it because it's just so well made. I think Tang Wei was like, I should have looked this up before I say it, but I think she was like banned from like making movies in China for 2 years because it was a little too steamy for them. Like, too bad. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. But she's back. She did more movies after this, none of which are quite as good as this one, but she's been in some good stuff. All right, our next one is a Johnny To one. Mad Detective. We got Lau Ching Wan. Andy On gets a lead role in this as well. And it's basically about a guy who... Here, let me check my notes here. Mad Detective. So Andy On enlists the help of a former detective, played by Lau Ching Wan, who claims to have the ability to see the inner personality of other people. So the cool thing about this movie is that when this mad detective is using his ability, the viewer is shown different supporting actors that represent the inner personality of the person that he's watching. So that's pretty interesting. So and they use different types of people for each of the characters in the movie as their inner personality, and it gives you an idea of it gives some character development that way. So this is a very cool flick. Very different. If you're in the mood for something different and you're a fan of Johnny To, which everyone should be, you should check this out. This is a very, very cool. Mad Detective. Alright, now this one I haven't seen in years, and I would really like to rewatch it just because I'm interested in if it holds up. This is Men Suddenly in Black. You have a pretty loaded cast here. You got Erik Sang, Jordan Chan, Chapman To, and it's a black comedy. It's like a it's like a sex comedy, really. You have these guys, and it's directed by Ho-cheung, by the way, who did some comedies as well as his art house and horror fare. So it's 4 husbands decide to cheat on their wives while they are away for the day. So the film plays out as a parody of triad cop films, with the husbands playing the triads and the wives are basically playing the cops, so to speak. This is a bit, like, you would expect this to be kind of, I don't know, like, you would think of, like, American movies that would be kind of like this, you know, where a bunch of guys try to cheat on their girlfriends or wives. They try to have, like, a sex vacation, and it gets all, like, juvenile and obnoxious. This movie just doesn't quite get that juvenile or obnoxious. I mean, it does get silly at times, but just the way it was executed, I remember it being really kind of charming, the way everything went down. And some of the scenes, I was just laughing hysterically. But I haven't seen it in so long, I don't know if it holds up or not. But, yeah, Men Suddenly in Black. Ho-cheung, you know, this is one of his earlier flicks. And I really liked it. So I recommend it. If you're in the mood for a comedy. Alright, now this one is a very high quality flick. It's called The Message. Alright, The Message. And this one stars Ho-cheung and Lai Bingbing. And it's basically set during World War II. A Chinese counterinsurgents unit is imprisoned within a desolate mansion for questioning by the Japanese government, who are on a mole hunt. So this has kind of like a cloak and dagger suspense type structure to it. Very intelligently written. And, you know, it starts off with not a lot of violence. Like, you would think if the Japanese got these suspects into a desolate area that they would just start torturing them, but it doesn't go down that way. You know, there's a lot of traps set, like psychological traps in that, trying to expose the mole. And then you have, well, I don't want to say anymore because it's very twisty. But it's kind of a process of elimination by the Japanese. And, you know, obviously, one of the mole is attempting to get a message out of the mansion. And that's kind of their goal, where the Japanese is kind of, you know, hunting them down inside the mansion, trying to expose them. So it's a very interesting flick. It's a little bit simplistic, but very effective in its simplicity. It's slick looking and a good quality film as well. So I definitely recommend The Message if you want like almost like a low-key espionage type flick. This is good. Very good performances too. Alright, so we got a few action movies coming up now. I'm not going to apologize, forget that. You got Midnight Angels 3, which, it's really Iron Angels 3. And you got Moon Lee on the front cover. Okay. So that's a good thing, unless she's just not featured for some reason. So let's see what I thought of this one. Iron Angels 3. Alright, I gave it a pass grade. Alright, so it's a not so well written action flick I have in my notes. And basically the protagonists in this movie, the cops, don't really work together. They just work separately, which is kind of weird. Moon Lee shows up, you know, maybe less than half the time, and is completely absent during the finale. But she does have a few good, solid fights in this, especially there's a one versus many extravaganza within a mansion. That's really the highlight of this movie, in that it's an action scene that people talk about. She uses nunchaku, and she fights like dozens of dudes in this mansion. It's a very good action scene. She has a few more good ones in this, but you kind of would have hoped she would have been there during the finale. Also, the villain in this is mustache twirling crazy. I think he actually twirled his mustache at one point. I'm not joking. So this has its entertainment value to it. Kind of a poorly made film overall in terms of script and stuff, but if you're in the mood for a little action, you could do worse. Could do worse. Another big one here. Johnny To again, making numerous appearances as director in my collection. The Mission. The Mission. So you got Simon Yam, Ho-cheung, Francis Ng, Lam Suet, Anthony Wong. There's tons of dudes in this. And this is kind of a precursor to Exiled. There's like, The Mission and Exiled are kind of connected. They're not really... Exiled is almost like a spin-off kind of reimagining of The Mission. The Mission is a really solid action flick about like bodyguards that are protecting somebody. And then Exiled, you know, I already covered, well, I didn't cover it in a separate video, but when we looked at my DVD, I covered the plot of that one. And, you know, I have a similar cast, and that's really how they're connected, to kind of style and themes and stuff like that. So The Mission, these guys get together, and they're protecting a bad guy. They're protecting a gangster from other gangsters. And there's a lot... The thing that makes this movie different is there's a lot of character interaction without dialogue. You know, just a lot of... I guess just interaction that doesn't really rely on people always saying how they feel. And that's how a lot of Johnny To's films are, and that's why I like them so much. I know some people get a little frustrated with Johnny To's films because the characters don't always explain through words why they're acting the way they act. But I like it that way. It's more natural. But The Mission, the shootouts in this are very different from a lot of other films that have come out ever, because they rely so much on positioning and strategy and people covering people. And it's almost like Johnny To's just very meticulous at showing like the angles of where you should position yourself when you're trying to protect people and stuff like that. So this is very cool. The ending is very different from what you would expect in a film like this. It's very like suspenseful. So The Mission is highly recommended, as is Exiled, and, you know, a lot of Johnny To's films. Alright, so you got Mission of Justice. Mission of Justice, which I don't think I liked this one. I did not. So, you do have Moon Lee and Yukari Oshima. They fight together against a drug lord. It's a real original premise. Very original. Moon is quite cute in this. I have that in my notes. And she participates in, you know, one nifty fight sequence involving a hand fan, but most of this film seems to be a waste of her talents. There's a lot of dull filler, and the finale I have in my notes has an incompetent use of slow motion. So, I mean, man, you gotta think, with Moon Lee and Yukari Oshima in the same movie, it should never be not good. It should always be at least watchable. But I rated this one as non-watchable. So I gotta go with my notes. Maybe I'll give it a second chance in the future, but Mission of Justice is one of their disappointments. Let's do another one. Why not? And this one's pretty cool. Motorway. Nobody talks about this one much, and it was a recent release. Look at all these stickers. Freaking, why do you have stickers on? I think I bought it used on Amazon, which is kind of my fault, but don't put stickers on DVD cases. Freaking irritating. So in this one, you have Sean Yu and Anthony Wong, and this one is also quite different. A very different car chase type flick. You know, this isn't Fast and Furious, although I do like some of those, admittedly. This one is just so totally different from every other car chase film I've ever seen, because it relies so much on claustrophobic interior and tight locations. You know, there's a great scene in a parking garage, which is, it's all about maneuvering your car through very small, cramped areas and getting through. Like, that's the focus of this, which is so different for a car chase movie. I really like this. A little unrealistic in spots in terms of, you know, the cops really not... There's a lot of one-on-one car chases when, in a lot of cases, maybe the cops would have set up... they do set up some barricades, but sometimes you just think, you know, the cops disappear for a little bit. Well, that's all right, whatever. It gives us an excuse for a great chase, right? So I really like this one. Motorway. Very underrated. Very underrated. All right. So that's good for tonight. I would like to get this done in 2 more videos, but it might be 3 more. We'll see. We'll see. As always, I'll see you next time.